Need parts now? O'ReillyAuto.com offers in-store pickup, same-day home delivery, or next-day home shipping. Get more parts your way at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's the SNL Hall of Fame podcast with your host, Jamie Dew, Chief Librarian Thomas Senna, and featuring Matt Ardill. And now, curator of the hall, Jamie Dew.
Thank you so much, Doug DeNance. Welcome to the SNL Hall of Fame podcast. My name is JD, and it is great to be here joining you. Just let me put this mop down. I've been mopping the front entrance for the sons of guns who don't wipe their feet. But of course, that's not you. You'll wipe your feet before you walk into the Hall of Fame. I just know it. The SNL Hall of Fame podcast is a weekly affair. Each episode, we take a deep dive into the career of a former cast member, host, musical guest, or writer, and add them to the ballot for your consideration. Once the nominees have been announced, we turn to you, the listener, to vote for the most deserving and help determine who will be enshrined for perpetuity in the hall. We already have a fantastic Hall of Fame building, and we've added to it season over season. It just keeps getting better, and this year will be no different. We've got a lot of great nominees that you heard last week on the nominee draft, and we are ready to rock and or roll to present them to you. And this week, we've got a great one. We've got Brennan Keller, and he is joining us to talk about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That's right. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is being nominated in the host category for the SNL Hall of Fame. A five-timer, a great performer. I am a giant wrestling fan and watched his career burgeon in the WWF, the then WWF, and all the way up into the WWE. It's going to be a great deal of fun listening to Thomas and Brennan's conversation about this, and we should get right to that. But before we do that, let me put this mop down and walk over here to Matt's Minutia Minute corner, and corner Matt for a Minutia Minute. Hey, Matt, how's it going today?
Hey, it's great. Thanks. And yourself?
I'm excellent. Thanks for asking.
Terrific.
So today we are talking about a favorite of mine as a wrestling fan throughout the 80s and 90s. The Attitude Era was robust, but one name rose to the top, and that is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he is our first inductee this year. Or not inductee, sorry. He is our first nominee this year. What can you tell us in terms of minutia about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
Well, Dwayne is 6'5". He was born May 2nd, 1972, which makes me feel really bad about my jackitude, I guess, like how shredded I am not. But yeah, he's descended from Samoan nobles and holds the title of Siuli, meaning son of Militola, and is a Canadian from his father's side, who is a Canadian citizen. He briefly played for the Calgary Stampeders in the CFL before he decided to move on because he didn't like what they were cooking. Now he shortly after followed in his father's footsteps. His father was a Canadian wrestler, Rocky Johnson, and became a professional wrestler with the WWE, which was at that time still the WWF. But it's not just his father. His grandfather, 3 uncles, and 6 cousins are all professional wrestlers. And
That's wild.
Yeah, it's like a true family tradition. And in that tradition, his daughter has also recently started with the WWE, carrying on kicking butt for the family.
Cool.
Now, he inducted his father and grandfather into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2008. Now, he's not just a great wrestler. He is also an incredible business person. From day one, he thought about like things that a lot of wrestlers and a lot of performers don't. He maintained naming rights for The Rock, so all merchandise that bears his likeness, that has The Rock on there, for the WWE, he gets a cut of, which is a pretty smart move.
Yeah.
Now, his first acting roles were on TV. He appeared in shows like That 70s Show, Ballers.
He played his dad in that 70s show.
Yeah. And on Young Rock. On Young Rock, he played his dad there as well. So,
that's cool.
Yeah. But one of the acting roles that I remember most prominently, where he got to show off his eyebrow prowess, was as the champion on Star Trek Voyager, where he fought 7 of 9.
Did not know this.
Yeah. So he got to space wrestle.
Wow.
Aboard, and it was a great episode, very over the top, and very theatrical. And he was great in it. It was great. It was better than his first film role, which is The Mummy Returns. But I mean, you can't really blame him for that. That was just the special effects of the time and a franchise kind of grinding to a halt. But he's had some incredible roles, most recently in Black Adam. He does hold the Guinness World Book of Record for the highest salary for an actor for their first movie, where he $5.5 million for the Scorpion King, or for the Mummy Returns. Excuse me. Wow. So yeah. And also in the family footsteps, his grandfather was also in a movie as a villain. Peter Feney Maivia was a Bond villain in You Only Live Twice.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so he's very much follows family traditions. The weirdest thing about his film career is he was actually Tim Burton's backup should Johnny Depp not accept the role of Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Well, that would have been a different movie.
That would have been indeed. I actually would have rather seen that movie because I would have been, that would have been incredible. Certainly would have meant Timothée Chalamet would have been not really a great pick for the prequel, because I can't see him growing up into Dwayne Johnson.
No.
Now, as well as being an actor and a wrestler, a nutritional supplement salesman, and a tequila salesman, he's also a successful author. His biography, The Rock says, lived at the top of the New York Times bestseller list for several weeks. His production company that he started with his brother-in-law and ex-wife, $7 Production, was named after the amount of money that he had in his pocket when he was fired from the CFL. And his ripped build runs in the family. His cousin, Tanoe Reed, is his stunt double. So, yeah. So, and lastly, he was on Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People for 2016.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's, what do you say we take it downstairs and go to Thomas and Brennan and see what they have to add to the picture to make it complete for the nominee, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Take it away, Thomas.
right. Yes, Jamie and Matt, thank you so much. And we are super excited. This is season 4 of the SNL Hall of Fame. It is upon us. Episode 1 here. And we're talking about a goodie. Somebody who, since I've joined the podcast, I've been super excited about. I knew we were going to get to this person eventually. And I think my guest here today, who I'll introduce in a second, would probably agree that this person that we're going to be talking about today has one of the maybe highest approval ratings compared to like most of the nominees that we're going to be talking about here on the SNL Hall of Fame. Dwayne Johnson, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, is our nominee here, season 4, episode 1 of the SNL Hall of Fame. And joining me to talk about this 5-timer host in Dwayne Johnson is a first-timer guest here on the SNL Hall of Fame. We have Brennan Keller. Brennan, thank you so much for joining me here on the SNL Hall of Fame.
Oh, my pleasure, Thomas. Thank you so much. Like I said, we'll see if the fans do, but I know that we smell exactly what this guy has been cooking for
absolutely
a long time.
Yeah, for a long time. I know I've been a fan since since 96 when he entered the picture. And I know you said you were a wrestling fan, so we have a lot of fun stuff to get into. So Brennan, you're a frequent contributor on the Saturday Night Network. You were recently on with John Schneider doing their impression countdown. A couple weeks ago, you were on with John Schneider doing the impression countdown. So we love you there on the SNN. You're a valuable contributor to the SNN, and you also do some stuff over on Reddit. And kind of tell us about that real quick.
Yep, the Live from New York subreddit. It's been a bit dormant since the show's not going on currently, but during the season, we have a live discussion that we have for each new episode that you can join. And it's a free account, fun to talk to, see what comes up, what happens. And then at the end of each episode, we rank and discuss every single sketch, every performance, how did the Weekend Update features do, all that fun stuff. So r/live from New York on reddit.com. So
yes. Fun. Yeah. Brennan makes a lot of SNL fans happy over there on Reddit with the sketch sorting Sundays and all of that stuff. So it makes it easy to follow if you're an SNL fan on Reddit. So thank you so much, Brennan, for joining us today here on the SNL Hall of Fame. And I wanted to ask you, so we're talking about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So how did The Rock get on your radar? Like you had said before, we were talking before the show that you're a wrestling fan. So when did you start taking notice of The Rock?
I started watching wrestling in probably 06, 07, and he was pretty much gone by then, like actually in the limelight of professional acting instead of professional wrestling. So it took me a while to know the name, but my dad, who in the 90s and early 2000s was a big fan, absolutely said, this is the guy to watch. This is his charisma. This is the guy, one of the most entertaining people you'll ever watch in anything. And I had a box set of his matches, of his promos, and the charisma on this guy it's hard to beat. And honestly, I'd say it's almost like we're talking about two different hosts here, because he was The Rock for 2 episodes and Dwayne Johnson for the other 3. So
I'm going to go ahead and echo your dad's sentiments and your sentiments. I came across Dwayne Johnson, well, unknowingly at first. I grew up as a Miami football fan, so I know for sure that I watched him play college football. I just didn't know, I think I knew the name Dwayne Johnson, but it obviously didn't quite click back then. But in 96 is that when Dwayne joined the WWF and he wrestled under Rocky Maivia. So I know you weren't there for Rocky Maivia, like in the moment, but he was goofy. He was this goofy guy, still had a lot of baby fat on him. The fans did not like The Rock, even though he was supposed to be a good guy. They actually, you know what they chanted, Brennan?
Oh, tell me.
Rocky sucks.
Rocky sucks! Rocky sucks! Rocky sucks! Rocky sucks!
You're not supposed to chant that back in 96. You weren't supposed to chant that for a baby face. So things weren't going well for The Rock as a baby face.
this might have to turn into a wrestling spin-off of this, because I mean, it's so interesting seeing how he was part of the Samoan dynasty, if you want to call it that way. People won't really know about that, but like Roman Reigns nowadays, he's nothing without partly The Rock and his part of the family for sure. And Rikishi, the Usos, all this fun stuff. Yokozuna, yep.
Yeah.
Umaga.
So a huge wrestling dynasty was part of The Rock's lineage. His dad, Rocky Johnson, was a wrestler. His grandfather, Peter Maivia, so that's where the name came from. Rocky Maivia was a combination of Rocky Johnson and Peter Maivia. So The Rock, as he was called, Rocky Maivia, didn't have a great start in the WWF. He was booed, not getting over with the fans. Then he switched up his persona, be more outspoken and edgy, and his personality really shined through. He started doing stuff with the Nation of Domination, and things just sort of clicked for The Rock. And that's what you were talking about, Brennan. That's The Rock that people started really getting to know. He became one of the best talkers in wrestling history. And I want to hone in on a word that you said to describe him, because it's the one word that I kept writing down as I was taking notes and watching his stuff, is charisma. Maybe the most charismatic wrestler I think I've ever seen. Maybe arguably the best on the mic in professional wrestling history. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, it's almost not close. For a guy that was gonna play both sides of the field, if you want to talk about the best babyface of all time, you get John Cena, and soon enough he hosted the show, did a phenomenal job in his episode, if you ask me. But if you were not watching wrestling, you pretty much probably still knew who The Rock was, because he hit way more boxes than just fighting in the squared circle. So,
and I would say, for my money, he is the best talker in wrestling history. You have Ric Flair, who's up there. John Cena was great. Hulk Hogan was a decent talker. I mean, he just had something about him. Obviously, he resonated with almost the entire country. And Hulk Hogan was actually the first professional wrestler to be an SNL host. Yep. So The Rock was kind of following in those footsteps. So, long story short, The Rock became one of the most popular professional wrestlers in history, super charismatic. We flashed forward to March 18th, 2000. That was season 25 of SNL. So just before we get into specifics regarding his first show, just to lay the groundwork, what's your general thought on Dwayne Johnson as an SNL host? And I know there's kind of two different categories, but just kind of overall, when you think of Dwayne as a host, what kind of comes to mind?
If you watch all 5 episodes, or if you watch an episode or 2, or just random sketches, you're either going to see The Rock as a hero character, a big guy, a sexy guy, a sports player, or I would just say grabbing a cast member and ragdolling them as part of the sketch. And you know what? He's not half bad as a singer either.
Yeah, that kind of surprises me. Yeah, he showed and as we went through his from the first time he hosted up until his 5th time, we saw a progression. We saw him kind of flexing his proverbial muscles in a lot of different ways. So with this first episode that he hosted, again, this was season 25, episode 15. We're looking at March 18th, 2000. He was billed as The Rock. So he hadn't done any acting before this. He was known as The Rock, the professional wrestler. And Brennan, they really leaned into that professional wrestling persona, with the monologue. So what did you think of this monologue and kind of how they set up the show? Even I think the cold open, so what did you think about how the show began?
Yeah. So I'm going to drop another term for the people that don't know anything about wrestling, but this is a 100% kayfabe cold open. The wrestlers, the heels, as people would say, the faces, these heel wrestlers and the chairman of the WWF at the time, Vince McMahon, show up in the cold open talking about how much they despise The Rock. Big Show, Mick Foley as, maybe it might have been Cactus Jack at the time, or just one of his characters. Triple H is there, the Big Show is there, and all they want to do is understand why The Rock got this opportunity and they did not. Because The Rock is a terrible, terrible, terrible person and a terrible wrestler. And why do we have to watch this guy and not beat him up? Because that's all we do 3 or 4 times a week on Monday Night Raw. If you're on Monday Night Raw, so one of these guys are going to be wrestling Dwayne Johnson each Monday night. Mm-hmm. So why on a Saturday night are they in the audience watching this guy host a show?
Right. And you mentioned they were keeping kayfabe, which kayfabe means that they're behaving in a manner that fit what the storyline was, like their wrestling personas. Essentially, that's what's like keeping kayfabe is kind of in the wrestling business. So they definitely were. Good explanation for sure. Yeah, I tried to sum it up, tried to distill it to its kind of core of what kayfabe is. But you're right, Triple H, Big Show, Mick Foley, they were all there. Vince McMahon was there. So he's talking down Triple H, Big Show, saying, I don't want you to ruin, this is an important night for the WWF. I don't want you to interfere with the show. I don't care what you do to him outside after the show. But for tonight, we're going to support him and let The Rock do his thing. And by the way, just as a side note, Vince McMahon does like maybe one of the best Live from New Yorks I've ever heard on the show. So
good.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
He's a showman in his own right, and he hit every single note of that.
Yeah, he geared up for it too. You could see Vince get the mic and just like gear up like that was his moment.
Mm-hmm. He was a commentator for WWF. He knew how to. Yeah, he was a TV man through and through.
Yeah. So Vince gave a great Live from New York, and then the Rock comes out. I think he had a good line. He said people tell him that he looks like a sexy Rob Schneider, and then if you pause it, you kind of look and you're like, you know what?
I know. I saw it right away.
You saw the resemblance?
Mm-hmm. Right away. It's almost uncanny. It's scary.
If Rob Schneider started working out for the next 30 years and ate nothing but chicken and cod and stuff, like he might look like that eventually. I don't know, but I could see the resemblance.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the face. But basically this monologue was The Rock in Dwayne Johnson in The Rock character.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No, it was awesome. It's very well done. The wrestlers make another appearance and they beat up one of the writers, which is the guy who did it's the guy who wrote the Good Place show, right?
Was it Mike Schur?
Mike Schur? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's who they beat up.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
they were picking on Chris Kattan a little bit. Yeah, and then The Rock, of course, ends his monologue as you would expect. It would be a disappointment if he didn't. He did a wonderful "If you smell what The Rock is cooking."
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Before we get to the actual show, I just wanted to mention he has a very, very wide variety of musical guests with him. This isn't something that probably will be needed to talk about, but he gets AC/DC as his first, if you want to say, co-headliner for that episode. Yeah. And they do a phenomenal job. Like, great rock band. His next episode is Andrew WK. One after that is Ray LaMontagne, which is probably my favorite of the 5. He has a great voice. And then George Ezra is a fun one, and Katy Perry to cap off his 5-timers. But he had a really interesting variety of musical guests. But
well, especially with AC/DC and Andrew WK, that fits the wrestling vibe of the show.
He was The Rock for those episodes, not the next 3.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. A little diversion after that, but especially like AC/DC, like that is a perfect pairing with The Rock. And I know I'm going to like humble brag a little bit here, but earlier this year I was on Chris Jericho's podcast. Me and Jamie Dew were on with Chris Jericho. And Jericho was talking about how he was like a little jealous. Like, I think Jericho said he was supposed to be on. He was supposed to be like with Triple H and Big Show and them, but something happened. But he's like, man, I was so pissed off because AC/DC was the musical guest that night, and I wanted to be at that show. So I brought it up to Jericho. I was like, "What do you remember about The Rock hosting?" And he's like, "Man, AC/DC was the musical guest." So I know like that, that appealed to Jericho, and I'm sure that appealed to to The Rock, and that's just, the similar vibe AC/DC in professional wrestling. So that's a good point that you brought up about like the musical guys fitting that whole vibe. So as far as the episode goes, what are your thoughts on The Rock's first hosting gig here?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, for sure. We get a few, repeat sketches. The word is blanking, but recurring sketches. We get Peepers with his appearance as Papa Peepers, which is very funny. It's pretty much just all spitting out apples the whole time, but
pretty much.
He's a very good like physical actor, and that's not just him being a physical guy. Like, he puts his whole body into a lot of his appearances, and he's really good in. I think the Peepers sketch is really good. There's a morning latte sketch in there with Will and Sherry O'Terry, who are just so funny. His first big moment is him as Clark Kent, though, which I would say he gets to play Superman, and he does a really, really bad job at hiding that he's Superman. Do you want to mention that one a little bit?
Yeah, so it's Molly Shannon is in that sketch, and I forget who else. Molly Shannon.
May have been Horatio Sands. I can look it up as well real quick, too.
Yeah, so essentially it's Clark Kent working at the newspaper, and his coworkers at the newspaper know that he's Superman, and they're just laughing at him doing a poor job of hiding it. And they're even saying like things about Superman just to rile up Clark Kent.
Superman isn't gay. Sure, he experimented a little back in Smallville.
This is making that up, I swear. Shut up!
But that doesn't make him gay.
I will say, I don't know if we want to repeat it here, but like with the Ladies' Man sketch and with the Superman sketch, there's a bit of some crass humor that might be a little not PC today.
Yeah, for sure. And that does come up a lot here in the podcast. And as SNL fans and people who talk about SNL, I think we tend to run into this is when we watch this comedy show this was over 23 years ago now. I mean, we've evolved, but that was an accepted part of humor back then in the year 2000. I think they were referring to in the Clark Kent sketch, they were referring to Superman being gay or something, and Clark Kent says, well, I think he experimented a little bit in college, but blah, blah, blah. So like calling someone gay back then was sadly part of comedy, which, it's a good thing that we've evolved and that's no longer accepted. But I mean, yeah, you watch something like this from the year 2000, and in the Ladies' Man sketch, The Rock is dressed as quote unquote, Helen Franklin, who's the love of Leon's life. And it turns out that he was an undercover cop, and we get into some uncomfortable territory there, some dicey. Yeah. So that's a good point that you bring up. Like, The Rock was part of appeared on SNL when the humor was a tad different. I thought it was interesting that you brought up the Mr. Peepers sketch that he was in. He was Papa Peepers in this, because it was that one and the Nicotrell sketches that stood out to me as far as just pure like physicality of The Rock and his performances. Like you said, in the Papa Peepers one, it was like basically him and Chris Kattan eating and spitting out apple, right? But you just saw The Rock, like he was willing to dress up goofy, like a Cro-Magnon man. He was willing to sit on that desk and just eat that apple and spit it out. So we saw The Rock, even though he was limited with his acting, and he was basically he was hosting the show in character, which happens sometimes. Paul Rubens did that as Pee Wee Herman.
That was the one thing I was going to say. Very few people as characters, and I would absolutely classify this as one of them for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So he wasn't there as Dwayne Johnson. He was there playing a character, and we saw that with the types of sketches that they had on this first one. And Nick Otrell was the one where he was
Nick Otrell,
yeah. So he was it was basically a product that got people to quit smoking, and it was The Rock just beating the crap out of folks, intimidating people into.
This is
Chris
his
Parnell, possibly.
Yeah, that was I think so. But yeah, Chris Parnell. But this is one of three, if you want to put quote unquote drug or medical things that he does in his 5 episodes. So it's just funny to see how that hasn't really changed.
And the later one's one of my favorite sketches that he's ever done, so I'm excited to talk about that one. So I think with this first show, it was, I mean, the reason he was there was his wrestling persona, and I think maybe the writing was maybe, had to play up that wrestling persona.
Yep.
Back then you had mentioned like the tendency in comedy and with SNL maybe to make like off-color jokes and un-PC jokes. There was also a tendency to make pro athletes look especially silly and say like, oh, look, we're putting this tough pro athlete in a dress. Isn't that funny? Like they used to do that a lot. Derek Jeter.
Oh, absolutely. That was the thing they did for sure.
Yeah, so they did that here too. But I think The Rock's natural charisma really overcame that. I think something popped with him, even in this first episode, even when the writing wasn't totally there for him.
If we think this first episode's not PC, then like we get to the one of the craziest jokes in probably the history of SNL way later.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah, I know. That'll be a very, very fun discussion.
Yeah, it's a little teaser. Stick with us because we're going to get to, I know if you're a huge SNL fan, you're probably thinking about the same sketch that we're alluding to. But yeah, I can't wait. So it took them 2 years to get The Rock back for his second hosting gig. That was season 27, episode 17. That was April of 2002. Still billed as The Rock. But as you had mentioned, Brennan, he was on there actually promoting something other than wrestling, yeah?
The Scorpion King movie.
Yes, The Rock gets his own franchise. It's a spin-off, I guess, from the Mummy movie franchise.
Second one?
Yes. I never saw those, but I just know the Scorpion King was was a character in one of those Mummy movies. So Hollywood started seeing something in Dwayne Johnson. SNL, obviously, he made an impression on the show, his first hosting gig. So he's back, his second episode. And we get a monologue here, and man, Chris Kattan getting it again a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fun one. This one's a joke that big man's actually a little weak if Chris Kattan can get a punch off on this guy. So
yeah,
it's a cute one. I would say it's probably my least favorite of his 5, but
yeah,
I am more of the fan of more of a defender of musical monologues than most people. So
yeah, for sure. I think it showed that Dwayne was letting his guard down a little bit. He wasn't trying to play up like the total tough professional wrestler. I mean, to borrow wrestling terminology again, he did the job for Chris Kattan in that monologue, right? Yeah. So we're teaching. Yeah, we're teaching our listeners today a little wrestling terminology. So the Dwayne Johnson did the job for Chris Kattan and let Kattan kind of beat the crap out of him, get a couple punches in there. Kattan gets his revenge a little bit. As far as the sketches themselves, fewer sketches than the first episode. It was kind of a light show. Something, at least one or two things did stick out to me though, but I want to throw it to you, Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's actually very popular in a lot of, I feel like, recurring bits. He shows up in, just every one of his episodes. I'm pretty sure has at least one repeat, or at least started one that had a repeat. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the fourth one, but he shows up in Brian Fallow's Safari Planet as just one of the people that the hosts show up as a person with an animal. So
and he's playing straight man to Tracy Morgan.
Hey, who are you?
Well, I'm Danny McClain, and I'm from the Exotic Animals exhibit at the Detroit Zoo.
I'm Brian Fellow.
Oh, howdy, Brian. I want you to meet a friend of mine. This is Quentin.
That's one fuzzy bug.
Well, actually, he's an adult brown desert tarantula.
If I had a bug like that, I'd make a coat out of him.
Actually, that wouldn't be a good idea because his tiny hairs are an irritant to human skin.
Did you see that loudmouth bird?
But then we get a parody of his movie, which I wouldn't say I'm shocked that he signed off on, but I don't know if this is a well-liked sketch. I think the ending is very funny.
It's very memorable.
It's very memorable for sure. Where do you want to start with this one?
So the thing that stood out to me really was it actually, something happened in the sketch that really impressed me about Dwayne was he flubbed a line.
I'm only going because she says we don't spend enough time together.
Sure we do. Didn't I take you to the tomb?
And then he tried to correct himself by calling it out during the sketch, and it actually kind of worked.
I didn't take you to the tomb. I took you to the tomb. The tomb I took you to of the serpent's eye.
Actually, though,
It was a tomb.
it was the tomb. It was.
He did a really good job of correcting himself, and to me, that something about that takes a lot of confidence and awareness. When you're under the bright lights, you flub a line. A lot of people, even professional actors, would just kind of freeze. But he was like calm, and he kind of stuttered a little bit, but he quickly found a way to get himself out of the line flub, and that actually impressed me.
I was going to say it has to do with memorizing hundreds and thousands of promos. So yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of cute. It's a nice little story about how he just wants to, be in a band, plays Egyptian guitar or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
At the end, we get a nice little voiceover about how they went into battle as father and son, and they sang their battle cry, and they got slaughtered. And then how the people that talked about how they went into battle and sang their song were also slaughtered. Yep.
Yes.
So everyone died in that sketch, I guess.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a happy ending for everybody in that sketch. And I think I applaud Dwayne not only for like correcting himself like with the line flub, but just being willing to kind of have fun with the new movie franchise that he was trying to launch there.
Yeah, I can agree. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think he did a good job definitely in this sketch. So the Scorpion Prince is something that I highlighted. The thing that probably impressed me the most out of the whole episode about Dwayne was his willingness to partake in Will Ferrell's nonsense.
Oh my gosh.
And wear some elaborate makeup. It was the All Aboard the Freedom Train, the duets of Neil Diamond and Bigfoot. So that's, I don't know about you, Brennan, this is right up my alley as far as humor goes.
And if there's one thing that lurking in the forest has taught me, is a love of classical tunes. You know, the good old stuff, back when music really meant something. That's why I'm releasing my very special 2-CD set of classic duets with my very good friend, Mr. Neil Diamond, everybody. Hey, all right, Neil.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm Neil Diamond. When Bigfoot asked me to record an album with him, I said, name the time and the place. I'll be there yesterday. I tell you, this kid's got pipes so sweet it almost makes you forget the truly astounding amounts of feces matted into his hair.
Fantastic costume is going to be the first thing I say. My God, they did a really good job with dressing up The Rock as Bigfoot. And yeah, Will Ferrell is really, really funny in this. He's kind of scatting as Neil Diamond, singing random songs. And I mean, the whole story is that he doesn't know if he's like just high or if he actually just met Bigfoot. Like, it's really, really funny and really random.
Yeah. So he and Bigfoot are promoting this new album that they're releasing where they're doing duets. But yeah, Neil Diamond, played by Will Ferrell, doesn't know if that's actually a real thing that's happening or if he's just on drugs and he's like in a cellar somewhere just hallucinating this whole thing.
Oh my, yeah, it's so funny. Like, I think the end kind of like there's like, yeah, just send it to the radiator behind the Denny's or something funny like that.
Yeah, this is one of those just classic Will Ferrell. His Neil Diamond stuff doesn't get talked about enough. No. I mean, Will Ferrell's done so much that it's easy to forget, but I mean, this is off the heels of the Storytellers Neil Diamond that Will Ferrell did, and it's just deranged. And I'm super happy for The Rock that he was willing to be a part of it and dress up in that Bigfoot costume and be a part of just something so weird. So, as I said, like this was his second time hosting SNL. Lighter on the sketches, just seemed maybe a little bit, but I did see some growth here. He was kind of going away more from the Rock persona and more into like his acting persona. Your overall thoughts on maybe not even the episode, but just how the Rock presented himself as an SNL host.
Yeah, he really grew with this one. I will say there's about 2 more sketches that are like big enough to be actual sketches where Rachel Dratch plays the girl with no gaydar, and
again, really 2000s gay jokes, right?
Yeah, does a really like actually hilariously bad job at doing the stereotypical accent that you might find in a gay bar. And I think the last joke with Will Ferrell's really funny, where this is also probably pretty easy to like guess, but he's a priest in the gay bar, so that was funny.
Yes.
And then there's also the last sketch of the night is America Undercover, which I never got that reference, but I thought it was funny because The Rock is, ragdolling Chris Kattan around the whole time, and Amy Poehler's running around. But yeah, this is a big like episode growth for him for sure, where he's more the actor and less of the wrestler. And by the time we get to the next episode, he's all game here, and he's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He's not just The Rock. This is like, I think this third one is probably my favorite for sure, because it's the perfect middle ground of him with his last gasp of wrestling still in him, which it's never going to really leave him because he shows up in WWE all the time
from time to time. Yeah.
This is
so he's
the
billed
last
as Dwayne Johnson.
Yep.
Here it's season 34. So we go 7 years almost in between appearances. So season 34, episode 17. That's in March of 2009. And you mentioned, he's billed as Dwayne Johnson. His acting career's getting more and more there. He's wrestling less and acting more. And I kind of think we can see it. I can tell that he's been getting those reps acting in those 7 years. So you had mentioned you like song and dance monologues. So that's something we get here, Brennan.
Yes, we go right into a musical monologue where he's a tough guy. That's him. That's his persona. He's not quite the actor Dwayne Johnson yet. He's tough guy. He's leaving the wrestling behind, and he's going to be that big action hero actor. But hey, I got a bit of a musical streak in me, so I'm going to do a little musical number with these SNL dancers and singers behind me. And
'cause I'm a tough guy, forget my movies. Tough guy in my satin shoesies. I'll wrestle anyone who sasses me. So pretty. Tough guy. I love Sex in the City. My friends and I would talk about who's would we be.
I thought he carried himself really well. That was Abby Elliott, Kristen Wiig, Fred Armisen, and then two professional dancers that were alongside them. So I think there's more to do for Dwayne in this monologue, I think, than the other ones.
Yes.
So I was happy about that. After the monologue, we get the debut of a recurring character, a very memorable character, and something that, if you really think about it, totally lends itself. It just kind of makes sense. It writes itself in a way. So we see the debut of The Rock Obama.
Yes, we do. It starts out as a, Fred Armisen Obama sketch with Andy Samberg, who's very, very good in this one here. All he does the whole time is, "Are you going to get angry?" That's all he asked her.
He's egging him
under his breath goes, "Get angry." It's fun stuff like that. Another quick side story here, but the first time I was old enough to stay up late to watch SNL, it was during the time that Fred was playing Obama, and I had never watched an episode of SNL Live, so it's 10:30 at night. I have channel on NBC. It's 10:30. I hear the voiceover and see a presidential seal that says, "Now, a message from the President of the United States," and I go, I was going to watch SNL. Why is the president on? But of course, right away, there's your answer. It was the pre-tape. It was the cold open.
It's like a rite of passage for young SNL fans is to get fooled like that. That happened with me and George Bush, I think.
Wow.
I was like,
awesome.
Why am I trying to watch SNL? And then and it was Dana Carvey as George Bush on, so I was relieved.
Yeah, so we get The Rock Obama, where he imagines, Andy Samberg imagines Fred Armisen's Obama as someone who will actually stand up for himself and not just someone who, like, the Obama doesn't get pushed around per se, but he's someone that will be able to hide his anger and just be like, "Oh, I understand." Like, that's it. He's not going to get angry. He's not going to throw anyone out a window as much as we wish he would. So The Rock does a really good job doing kind of a, what would you say his, impression of,
it's like the Hulk. Like,
the
so
Hulk,
I think, Obama is like Bruce Banner. Like the Fred Armisen Obama is like Bruce Banner. And then The Rock Obama is like the Hulk.
Yes.
So I think that's like, I think the sketch probably started out as just the name, The Rock Obama.
No, for sure. They
absolutely.
It out right away.
And then it just went from there.
Everyone in that sketch is like, this is a really, really perfect part where he's like has Christian Wig and he puts her out a window, and it's like so the first time someone jumps through the window or gets thrown out the window, the whole glass, fake glass breaks and they jump down. But the second time when he's throwing Kristen Wiig out the window, her foot just hits one tiny piece of, fake glass and just makes the sound of like just a like, that's a perfect little moment that you wouldn't normally think about, but like it just made the sketch that much better.
That's a great little detail. That's awesome. And I like the little touch too of the Rock Obama speech pattern.
It's that, but it's also the impression of Obama at the same time.
Yeah, like the Obama cadence is still there.
Yes, the cadence is the word.
Even more so than maybe Fred had sometimes as Obama.
No, it could have been, you could argue it's a better impression.
You could. I think Fred might admit that.
Yeah.
Too. The Rock Obama, pretty memorable, little fun sketch here. The next one, and you're right, this is a really great episode. Honestly, the next one I thought was great too. It was the Hawaiian restaurant.
Yep, one of my it's up there. It's really up there. It's one of my favorite sketches, and this is going to be like, if I would give you a top 5, this is probably 2.
Okay.
Of his entire tenure on SNL. It's him and Fred Armisen working in a Hawaiian hotel for tourists, and all they do is sing a song and do a little dance about how infuriating it is to work at a tourist trap location.
Aloha. Welcome to the island of Kauai.
Oh, thank you.
We're on our honeymoon.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah. Honeymoon in Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's so original.
Well, thanks.
It must be fun working here, huh?
Oh, it's great. They make us wear grass skirts.
We play the same song over and over.
We make $7 an hour. It's a dream job.
Well, Hawaii's a beautiful place to live.
Yeah, I should have seen it before. It was covered in hotels.
Yeah, here's a fun fact about Hawaii. Our biggest export is coffee, and our biggest import is fat white tourists.
Wow, is it really, really, really well done.
Yeah, it's great. And they're drawing from The Rock's heritage, I'm sure, and his background in a lot of ways. And it's just a perfect roasting of like tourists who go to Hawaii, and maybe the locals kind of feel a certain way about the tourism that's having an effect on Hawaii. So there's like a message.
It really is, like, it's not wrong.
This sketch. Yeah, it's not wrong. But The Rock just plays it so well.
Yeah, and there's so many funny little lines like, "Oh, how is it living in Hawaii?" And they're like, "Oh, you mean the shack of a house I live by? It's 15 minutes down a dirt road. You turn left and look for the pregnant girl. That's my sister. And like the house we share is right down the street." Like just stuff like that.
And it's really great to see The Rock and Fred Armisen, but The Rock, Dwayne Johnson being able to go from sarcastic to like cheery and singing like just in an instant. Yeah, so going from one to the other is just, it's really neat to see The Rock kind of flexes a little bit more acting chops in some ways in that sketch.
That's my favorite of the episode, but the next sketch is probably going to be a lot more people's favorites for sure.
Yeah, I think the next sketch might be my favorite. It's actually this whole, because it's a recurring sketch. This was actually the debut of a recurring sketch. And this is one of my favorite underrated recurring sketches from this whole era. I love these. It's the Game Time with Dave and Greg, where Bill Hader, this is some of Bill Hader's best work on SNL, I think. And he plays Greg the alien, or he's not an alien. Or
he's not an alien. What?
But just Dwayne showed great comedic timing in this.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Game Time with Dave and Greg, your one-stop shop for sports talk. I'm former NFL linebacker Dave Del Monte, and with me as always is my co-host Greg. Greg is not an alien. And today, we've just got one topic, March Madness.
He showed an understanding of absurdist material. that continued from like the Will Ferrell Bigfoot sketch that he did.
Absolutely.
This is just kind of a continuation of, Dwayne's the straight man, but he's amidst like Bill Hader just being this off the wall alien character. And just the writing's great. I love Dwayne's performance. And up to this point, this is probably just from a pure sketch performing standpoint, it's probably my favorite from Dwayne. What do you think about this?
Way to go, Chuck.
Way to go, Chuck.
Man, he does a really good job, and the phone calls in this sketch really make it, where they're like, yeah, let's talk about human lessons that you just gave Greg there. Or, yeah, man.
I noticed that calendar.
I figured it out.
Greg's the same. Greg looks the same in every one of those pictures.
I figured it out. Like, you bring these people on, and they go missing every episode. And they're like, no. Oh, my God. It's
Greg gets his fuel or
from muscle.
And so that's why you have all these pro athletes on. Yeah. And then they always go missing after they appear.
Man, I don't think anything will beat that water segment where he drops the water the first time.
Oh gosh. Yeah. And Bill Hader just goes nuts. That's Greg. I think they did 3 or 4 of those game time sketches.
I remember John Hamm in one of them.
Yes. Yeah. John Hamm was great in one of them.
I don't remember the other right now.
Those were just classic. And this is the debut. So The Rock helped kind of set the tone for what I consider a classic bunch of SNL sketches.
Then I think the episode ends with a funny little sketch about a lighthouse and the light turns off. And it's going to be the best, it's one of those funny sketches where someone off camera throws buckets of water on the cast members, and it's hard not to enjoy that. So
yeah, it's a great final sketch. It's like the premise. I love the premise. It's an incredibly goofy premise with Dwayne and Kristen Wiig. They're on a date at the lighthouse.
Yep. She's into it the whole time. That's very funny.
Yeah, she's totally into it. And Dwayne's turning off the light to set the mood. So that's why the light of the lighthouse is getting turned off, because Dwayne wants to set the mood. And then it causes these boaters to crash. It causes Jason Sudeikis, I was about to say,
this is probably my favorite part of it, where he goes, how am I supposed to enjoy a midnight jet ski? Yeah.
So I think this was a good encapsulation of what a lot of what Dwayne provided this episode. I think he was used a lot as a straight man in this episode, and he did a really good job of it. I think,
for sure,
he showed some variance. Like, he's able to be goofy, and obviously we know he has charisma. He doesn't need to prove that to anybody that he has charisma, but he was able to play straight man to a lot of really great cast members here.
Absolutely.
So the 4th episode that Dwayne Johnson hosted, we're going to go to season 40, episode 16. That's in March of 2015. And they had to do this. They did the cold open, the Barack Obama. It went over really well with audiences the first time around. Here we are 6 years later. They do the Barack Obama cold open.
Now, don't be alarmed. The Barack Obama, much like Barack Obama, only larger and more violent. Now, where were we? You, Orange Man.
Me?
You invite Netanyahu without asking?
I did, but...
You like Israel?
Yes.
Oh, maybe you should go visit Israel.
Yeah, this one is even better, especially when you add Leslie Jones to the mixes. Michelle, what they call She-Rock Obama. She-Rock Obama, yes. That was great. They do an even better job of making the Barack Obama angrier, and they really bumped this sketch up. They had a lot more time to think this one over, and it really shows.
Yeah, definitely. And Jay Farrow's playing Barack Obama instead of Fred Armisen. That might help a little bit, because, I mean, it's not controversial to say that Jay Farrow did a better Barack Obama than Fred Armisen.
No. Yeah.
Much as I love Fred Armisen, he's actually teaser going to be the episode 2 of the SNL Hall of Fame in season 4. So we love Fred Armisen.
It's hard. I think that episode is going to be about 4 minutes long, where they just name off sketches and then it's over. So
yeah, I think Kirsten Turnbull and I will try to go more than that. We'll volley a little bit, but we might spend a minute or so on the Fred Armisen's Barack Obama. But I'm glad Jay Farrow we saw Jay Farrow do it here. And you're right. I loved the use of Leslie Jones.
Yeah, it's a very, very good start to the episode, especially when you have the host in the cold open. So
yeah, exactly. That's a good point. We always love the host being in the cold open. So we have our monologue here, and it's another song monologue.
Put me in Frozen or Avatar 2. Don't need no CGI, just paint my ass blue. Make another Home Alone where I'm the kid. The burglars take a look at me and they're like, shit.
0 Dark 30. Bin Laden was toast.
0 Dark 31. I'll kill his ghost. Cause I'm
Franchise Viagra. Franchise Viagra.
Show enough.
It's a little rap and R&B song, pretty catchy, I think, Brennan.
Nice. He's the sequel guy. That's what the song's about.
Yeah.
I think it's really well done. I like it more than the last one. I think it's a lot more true now than when it was in 2015. But it's really on the nose for him, and it's not much of a joke anymore. But
well,
I think
it's funny because this was kind of him lobbying to be in more movies and to be like a movie star. So it's called Franchise Viagra, which I think is a great name for the song in and of itself. But it's almost like Dwayne willed himself here to be like the movie star that he would become. And I agree with you. I like this even better than the last song number that he did in his third episode.
Yeah, it's a good start to the episode. Those two really, really well done.
The next sketch is probably, if I was to take a poll of SNL fans and ask them about their favorite Dwayne Johnson sketch, this might actually be it. And it's the first of two, because they did a repeat in the next episode. But we have a WrestleMania promo with he and Bobby Moynihan.
This is probably his most memorable now, at least I think it is. It plays back to, him being what he got famous for. And man, is this one like unbelievable how quick of a turn it takes. And
Bobby Moynihan said that this was The Rock's idea.
That's even
based on real promos that he would do. Like the wrestlers would tell each other, like, "Oh, don't be afraid to get into it and really get at me." And so this was The Rock's idea during that week.
And Taron Killen is the backstage commentator.
Basically like a Mean Gene Okerlund type, like he was the interviewer. Yeah.
The mustache and everything. Yeah, it was he
Yeah.
did a really good job of that quick yell. Oh, go watch out and there's trash yard but back here. WrestleMania.
And then he'd just look at his phone. He was just looking at his phone until like the very split second that he was supposed to talk.
Yep,
So
he's ready. Yep. You get the actual promo.
I'm here with our main event competitors, Coco Watch Out and Trash Yard Mod. And there was no love lost between these two, isn't that right, Mod?
No! Oh, you better watch out, because when the mutt gets out of the trash yard, the first thing he's gonna do is take out this big old pile of stinking, rotten garbage.
Man, this really escalates into something.
And what do you have to say to that, Coco?
Let me tell you something about this guy. He has herpes. It's true. Oh, he's got herpes and he's got it bad.
this was just great escalation. And like no notes, like good on Bobby Moynihan and Dwayne Johnson for just putting together great performance here. I also want to give a shout out to the next one. It's a pre-tape. And I don't really remember before this Dwayne being in like pre-tapes and stuff. Like
I did a double look here and I did not see anything.
So this was great, I thought. Oh, Bambi pre-tape, Bambi as an action movie.
Yeah, straight off Fast and Furious joke. Really well done. Everyone, a lot of jokes on Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez. Yeah, it's like a really well done action movie parody, and it really works perfect for how they're still Disney's still remaking their movies in live action. So
yeah, and we see this is a lead up to The Rock turning into like one of the biggest action stars in the world. So This is like his part of his audition reel for, being a leading action man. So I think the rest of this episode was just Dwayne being charismatic and charming.
Fun fourth appearance for him, and I would say he earned his return for this next one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next one was a biggie, Five Timers Club. Dwayne Johnson joins the Five Timers Club in May of 2017, and we get appearances from two legends, Brennan, like a huge honor for The Rock.
Absolutely, Dwayne. And I will say he makes the good choice on that's aged pretty well on choosing who his running mate is, I'll say for sure.
Starting tonight, I am running for the President of the United States. And I gotta tell you, I've already chosen my running mate. He's also in the Five Timers Club. And like me, he's very well liked. He's charming, universally adored by pretty much every human alive.
Dwayne, I would be honored to...
Mr. Tom Hanks, ladies and gentlemen.
Dwayne, I could not possibly turn this down. I'll do it.
But yeah, we get our Five Timers Club monologue with Johnson Hanks 2020, and now I should say Johnson Hanks 2024, because
let's do it.
Yeah, it didn't really go off last time. But Alec Baldwin shows up, Tom Hanks shows up, and yeah, I will say he made a good choice picking Hanks as his running mate. So.
Yeah, it says a lot about Dwayne that those two like hosting legends came to like christen him as a five-timer, and I know they just like being on the show anyway. Tom Hanks, when he's in town, will call Lorne and say, "Hey, I'm here if you need me," kind of thing. Yep. But that just says a lot about Dwayne that these two guys were there supporting him.
Absolutely, it's a very, very quick Five Timers Club monologue. It doesn't have much to do with the actual Five Timers Club outside of him getting the jacket. But hey, he might not really be all about that. He has a really good monologue outside of that. So.
The first sketch of the night was a fun second installment of the WrestleMania promo. So what do you think of this one? Like, especially compared to the first, like what did you think?
It's a little less mean, which is fun. Like, you feel really bad for him in this one. This one has a lot of fun little twists that kind of change it up a little bit with, Trash Yard Month getting, they cut to him in a Katy Perry outfit singing a song. That's pretty cute. The ending is probably the funniest moment of this.
You know how your wife said she was going to meet her friend for lunch last week?
Yeah, oh no.
Well, she actually went to the fertility clinic, and guess what? Not only is she pregnant, but you'll never believe who the sperm donor is.
Oh, boy.
Uncle Coco! Your unborn baby is both my nephew and my son, and you had no idea.
Oh, my God. I'm gonna be sick, right?
And that's what the Coco is cooking!
I'm glad they brought this one back, because there was a lot they could have done with it, and they really did a good job on the second outing for sure.
So after the WrestleMania promo, which I think was, again, a fun installment of the sketch, is there anything you want to talk about before like the big pre-tape? One of my favorite pre-tapes of this era, possibly.
Oh my God. I mean, we can talk about the other pre-tape real quick. The Kenan Thompson rap song one. It's got probably one of my favorite little cuts in there where, I mean, we get our official second appearance of David S. Pumpkins. So
David
that's
S.
fun.
Pimpkins.
Pimpkins, yep. And then my favorite part of that is Jost and Shay showing up as two black guys.
That was perfect. I bet Shade thought of that and told Jost, "You have to do it. I'm making you do this." And we're called two black guys.
They just cut back to Kenan, and he's like, "Bad name." And man, that's a funny little.
It's a great ensemble piece. Just everybody. Melissa Villaseñor was in that.
Yeah, just all these random names. Yep.
Oh yeah.
I wish I could remember them all because they're all so unique and pretty silly. So
yeah, all the rappers on the track had their different personas, and that was great. And that was Dwayne kind of taking a step back and letting the whole cast and plus him, but that was like a cast piece. That actually is another like kind of classic from from around that time. A really great pre-tape. Another Gemma, actually, too. So, and
that's
I'm
a fun one.
Yeah, I think maybe you and I are possibly in the minorities. It's like both of us kind of like Gemma. I think Cecily Strong does a really good specific kind of accent.
Mm-hmm.
It's like more of a Cockney, like it's a very specific English accent that she does.
Yeah. And then she's got the little song that she performs every time. And I mean, it's like the joke's the same every time. Doesn't really change it up outside of a different, husband or different boyfriend. And
I think Dwayne does it. He has fun with his Italian accent.
Oh yeah, he does
too. He
does. I think he's right on. He's got the same accent down both. Both episodes.
He does a good job. Like I mentioned, like think about this, like him using this accent, him playing straight man, him compared to like 17 years prior, his first episode, and there's just so much growth.
Mm-hmm. No, it's insane. Like I said, well, I mean, they're not the same person because The Rock hosts the first two and Dwayne Johnson hosts the next three. So,
and check this out, Brennan. Speaking of growth, we have the next pre-tape, the Centrex commercial.
Yes, we do. Man,
yes.
This is really, really, really good. I will spoil my favorite part here is where they're talking to Kyle Mooney, who's the doctor, and he's like, "Man, I can't write you this prescription," and he goes, "Yeah, I think I still want it though," and they cut to him with a random nosebleed.
Yeah,
it's the perfect joke.
Oh, it's great. Like just excellent commercial parody. Just his Dwayne's line delivery is fantastic. Escalation.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's awesome.
So I asked my doctor about Zentrex, and he said, Zentrex? What the hell is Zentrex? And I said, Zentrex. It's the strongest male enhancement drug in the world, and it works. And he said he'd never heard of it. So I pulled up the Zentrex website and showed it to him. He started laughing. He said, "Are you insane, man? You can't put that junk in your body. It'll kill you. Your heart will stop. Rhino horn, ammonia hydroxide, that's what's in meth, right?"
They read out, 100 million symptoms. That's always super funny. I always think that's very funny.
Mm-hmm. He's getting more and more agitated, but with his doctor for not prescribing this drug to him. It's just, I love it.
Froze my computer.
Yeah, they're in the doctor's office, and Kyle Mooney's as the doctor is looking on the website to kind of look at the ingredients. He's like, "Do you realize what's in this?" And then the website ends up giving his computer a virus or something. Dwayne just totally sells it. Just his acting chops really shine. I thought this was fantastic. One of my favorite Dwayne Johnson sketches, just out of his whole 5-episode.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so next we have a controversial sketch.
Absolutely,
something I personally consider a classic. And I actually think it's a sketch that I think is a good barometer for someone's comedic taste and sensibilities and how they view comedy, in my opinion. I know that says a lot, but I think it's true. It's the International Mad Scientist Society sketch. Brennan, you want to set this up? You want to tell us about this one?
I would love to tell you about this one. So we get Bobby Moynihan as the leader or host of the International Mad Scientist Society, and everyone is here to talk about their inventions. We get Shashir Zamaita's shrink ray. What's the second one I'm misremembering? Something about the moon.
Shashir has
she had the freeze ray.
Freeze ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I forget who had, maybe Kyle Mooney.
Yeah, Kyle Mooney had shrink ray probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it was a contest. So it was a contest amongst the mad scientists who could develop the most evil invention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like we're not remembering this well, but no, we're just skipping the not important stuff, if you want to put it that way. And then, just Roy shows up because there was Dr. Micronox and Freezilla, or that was her name, something crazy like that. All these awesome, villain names that you'd see in a comic book or a movie. And then you get Dwayne Johnson in probably his best costume in his 5 episodes outside of Bigfoot, where he just has this blonde wig on. Mm-hmm. He's wearing a doctor's coat. He might have scrubs on below, blue scrubs. I might be misremembering, but it's just Roy Roy's
Which
here
I
telling
wonder
about,
if it's a nod to Buck Henry's Uncle Roy. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That might just be a coincidence, but like
I feel like I heard something about this somewhere. I think we're onto something with that.
yeah,
But yeah,
that
so
might have been
Roy-
a John Schneider theory. He's a big Buck Henry fan, so
Yeah. So Roy shows up and soon enough comes on, you ask me, probably one of the top 10, top 20 best sketches of all time. It's
pretty
up there.
damn evil invention.
Mhm.
Worthy
Yeah, it's-
of winning the contest, probably.
Oh, absolutely.
Hi, guys. My name is Roy, and and for the most evil invention in the world contest, I invented a child molesting robot.
So this is what I mean by like a barometer of somebody's taste and sensibilities. I mean, it's just a very sensitive subject,
Yeah,
obviously.
the crowd isn't all the way in it for sure.
Yeah, because they don't know, because you don't want to like laugh
There's
out
some
loud and then
like
you're
screams,
like, you know.
like, yeah, there's like some like that,
Yeah.
not like laughing. They're like,
But
he
just
said
like-
that. Yeah, you so first you build a robot and then you molest it and you hope it repeats the cycle.
Yeah, which is commentary on like how that stuff tends to
Yeah, like-
happen, and
Holy S word, like they went there. That's the sketch.
they
like-
absolutely went there. And I think, to me, I love this sketch because the commentaries, it's not laughing at the victims.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
It's
So that's-
tasteful, which is a weird thing to
yeah.
say.
I think that's where the genius of the writing comes in, because it's tasteful given the subject matter. It could have gone awry, but I think it was so smart and so well executed, and that was on the writing, and that was on Dwayne.
Absolutely, yeah.
Dwayne's
His
performance helped it out.
Yeah, I don't know what other hosts they could have got to pull that off, because the way he just says it is like just so nonchalant. Like,
yeah,
he walked into the International Mad Scientist Society for his competition. He brought his invention up there. It looks like a really dinky robot, and then he just explains it, and like the shocked faces of all these quote unquote evil people.
Yeah.
Like, it's really well done.
And just how matter of fact he talks about it.
You know, I want to remind you guys that in Webster's dictionary defines evil as profoundly immoral.
We know what evil means.
Well, it doesn't seem like you do, because you built a freeze ray.
Yeah, my most evil invention was like a blizzard in the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just I think it's a classic of this era. Might be actually too one of my 10 to 20 favorite sketches ever if I had to make a list. And
Yeah, I guess we should probably mention it. I think the ending is very funny and very well done. It's a little like non sequitur, but the way they pull it off, I think, is very, very funny.
Get out of here now!
Well, let's just go talk it over at the restaurant across the street with the medieval decor and the little miniature beef sandwiches.
It's a White Castle, man. Just say White Castle. Who the hell calls White Castle a sandwich restaurant?
Okay. Well, you guys are mad. I'm really sorry. I just wanted to win the contest, and I guess I really screwed up.
No, Roy. You have nothing to apologize for. Yes, you made a robot that molests children. But you also made an important point here today. Things are always better with juicy beef and onion sandwiches from White Castle, America's medieval sandwich restaurant.
White Castle. We'll serve anybody.
I've seen theories online, notably Reddit, obviously, saying, oh, product placement, and how much did White Castle pay them to do that? And I don't know. What do you think about, like, was that product placement, or what do we know the story behind why White Castle was used?
I don't know, but I would love the answer to be White Castle said, we'll pay you $10,000 to put us in a sketch. And that's all they said.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're like, no, we just want you to put us in a sketch. Like, make the sketch be in a White Castle or whatever. And like, oh, we got an idea. That's what I want it to be.
That's exactly my thoughts too. Is I would love it. That would harken back to like the Maverick early seasons of SNL, where White Castle says, "Here's money, put us in a sketch," and then the writers are like, "Oh, you'll be in a sketch."
Yeah. Oh,
and they put them in like the
going
potentially
they start,
most
rubbing their
offensive
hands together.
sketch. But just wonderful. I think this is the best sketch that Dwayne was in his 5 times as host. And,
yeah, it's my favorite of
yeah,
the entire 5 episodes for sure. And I don't think it's particularly close, even how much I like the other ones.
Agreed. Yeah, so we're on the same page with this. I think it's a good. That's his most recent hosting gig. That was again May of 2017. I think he did well for himself in that hosting gig. So, do you think? I'm curious, Brennan. Are we due for a 6th hosting stint for Dwayne Johnson?
I'm looking up his in production and stuff. He is gonna be in the Moana remake as himself as Maui. He's got enough stuff coming up that I would like to see him again.
Might be more Black Adam movies.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't remember what James Gunn said about his character, but he's making a San Andreas 2, I guess.
Okay.
Another Fast and Furious spinoff, Jungle Cruise 2, Fast 10 Part 2. Yeah, he'll find something.
Yeah,
he'll host again. He deserves it.
I hope so. And if he doesn't, I think he's already cemented himself as just a super fan favorite in SNL, somebody who the show trusts. And, Brennan, I think now's your chance. This is how we tend to close the show. What's your ultimate case as to why Dwayne Johnson should be considered for the SNL Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I think after our discussion, you will have, just like us, smelled what The Rock had been cooking from 5 episodes of SNL. But this is a guy that started out as an athlete, a professional wrestler, as people would say. Almost, another wrestling term here, a gimmick host. He hosted as a character, what he was known for as The Rock. He was a loudmouth, good-talking individual, and his good talking turned into good acting and good performances and up for anything. If you wanted him to be the big man, the hot guy, sing a song or two, be an action hero, a superhero, grab a cast member by the legs and throw him. He was up for it, but he was also up to do something crazy. Maybe hang out and sing a song with Fred Armisen, or play the straight guy to someone being just absolutely insane. He could do anything he wanted. I fully believe that Dwayne Johnson could have been hired on this show as a sketch comedian, because that's just how well he shows up in each of these 5 episodes. The first one takes a while to get used to, especially if you think about it as him playing character and not him being Dwayne Johnson. But as you go through, many of his characters are people that could be played by a cast member. They didn't have to be the host that night. But he was going to be up for it. He was going to be up for being the butt of the joke. He was going to be up to sell and say the punchline of the night, because he was here to put on a show and entertain fans, entertain 300 people in the SNL audience, entertain 20,000 people at a house show, entertain tens to almost 100,000 people at WrestleMania, and the millions of people watching at home, watching WWE or watching SNL, because all he wants to do is be a guy known for entertaining people. And he absolutely was able to do this, and he really became something other than a wrestler thanks to this show, and there's not very many people that can say that outside of cast members.
All right. Thank you so much, Thomas and Brennan. That was a great conversation. I put a lot in the old brain bank, and I want to thank you for that. Why don't we not beat around the bush here, and we'll head right into the next segment, which is a sketch. This sketch that we have chosen is with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and Bobby Moynihan. And in fact, they did this a couple of times. This is called WrestleMania Promo, and it comes from season 40. Enjoy.
Okay, moving on to the next promo. Let's get our next 2 wrestlers in there, Coco Watch Out and Trash Yard Mutts.
Great. Hey, can't wait to work with you, man. This is going to be great.
Man, totally. Me too. I can't wait.
Yeah. Hey, feel free to just really let me have it in this promo, man. Don't hold back.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah, definitely. Just go for it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, everybody set?
This could be fun.
Yeah, man.
And
Action! I'm here with our main event competitors, Coco Watch Out and Trash Yard Mod, and there is no love lost between these two, isn't that right, Mod?
No! Oh, you better watch out, because when the mutt gets out of the trash yard, the first thing he's gonna do is take out this big old pile of stinking, rotten garbage.
And what do you have to say to that, Coco?
Let me tell you something about this guy. He has herpes. It's true. Oh, he's got herpes and he's got it bad.
Yeah! Yeah, well, you're gonna be wearing a body bag when I'm through with you.
Yeah? Well, you can't have sex with anyone without having a talk first because of your herpes. I heard your doctor said it was the most herpes he'd ever seen.
Well, you heard it here first. Junkyard Mutt has herpes, and it gets settled this Sunday at WrestleMania. And cut!
Hey, dude. Hey. So what'd you think, man? That's pretty good, right?
No, not really. Yeah, no, that stuff was kind of personal. Yeah, maybe just talk to me more about stuff you're gonna do to me in the ring.
Okay, cool. I got it. Okay,
cool,
not
man.
a problem.
That's cool.
All right.
Promo take 2.
Okay.
And action! I'm here with Coco Watch Out and Trash Yard Mod, and there is no love lost between these two, isn't that right, Coco?
Oh, yeah. When we get in that ring on Sunday, I'm going to tell everybody about what I found on his computer. It's full of Family Guy porn. You keep Googling Lois, sex, Brian, and Brian's the dog, man.
I like dogs. How do you know all of that?
I hired a research firm to dig up dirt on you, and then they found a ton. You remember the college girlfriend named Donna? It turns out 8 months after you broke up, she had a baby girl. Evelyn.
What?
I met her. She's a lovely girl, an honor student, and she doesn't want to have a thing to do with you, man, because you'll never meet her, because you're not fit to be a dad. And that's what the Coco is cooking.
Then tell me, what do you have to say to that mutt? You heard it here, folks, and it all gets settled this Sunday.
Cut. I like that. Were you guys feeling that one? No.
Yeah. You said, man, just let you have it.
Yeah, I know,
right?
but I take it back, man. Okay, just do normal stuff, like how you're gonna rip me apart or something.
Okay, I mean, that seems wrong to me,
No,
but
it seems
okay.
wrong.
No, okay, for sure. Okay, I got
Take
it.
3.
Come on.
All right.
And action! I'm here with Coco Watch Out and Trash Yard Mod.
I'm gonna rip this guy apart. And I mean psychologically.
Jesus.
See, I've been working on something the last 8 months, Mutt. You know the internet girlfriend, Stacy?
Yeah?
The college student who lives in Hawaii that you've never met in person?
Oh, no.
Well, I got news for you. She's really not a college student, and her real name's really not Stacy. It's Coco! That's right. I catfished your ass. I made you fall in love with me, and you had no idea.
That is so intricate!
Why are you doing this? And that's not all. You know that cute picture of Stacy that you've been spanking it to? It's actually a picture of Evelyn, the daughter you never met.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Well, there you have it, folks. All at WrestleMania this Sunday.
Because that's what Coco is cooking.
That's a cut.
Oh, too far, Coco.
That's great. That is The Rock, just on fleek, and you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Just giving it. And Bobby Moynihan, of course, a future SNL Hall of Famer. I don't know. Maybe we'll have Brennan back to discuss him in the future. I do not know. But I want to thank Brennan for coming out this time. Brennan Keller, big kudos to you. First timer, and we loved having you. So thank you very much. Thomas, Matt, you were magnificent as always. Listeners, we can't do this without you, nor would we. You are great. You have come back to us, and we are thrilled by that. Voting this year will be tremendous. I just know it. We've got a tremendous list of nominees to get through the year, and it's going to be wonderful. So join us next week when we celebrate Fred Armisen with our friend Kirsten Turnbull and talk about his great career. But until then, if you would do me a favor, on your way out, as you walk past the Weekend Update exhibit, turn out the lights, because the SNL Hall of Fame is now closed.
Thanks for listening to the SNL Hall of Fame podcast. Make sure to rate, review, share, and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media at SNL HOF. This is Doug DeNance saying, see you next week.
To podcasts and such.